25, Wednesday, March 30th, right here on the link. Good morning. Let's get educational with Acting Superintendent of the Guam Department of Education, Erica Cruz, joining us in the KUAM News Link Zoom room. Good morning, Miss Erica. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Chris. How are you this morning?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
So I'm going to start this interview with something positive because
Oh,
you know uh, I'm not really a media person. Well, actually, I was a PIO for a little bit, but I was kind of nervous about our last session because it was like 30 minutes, and I didn't know if I could last 30 minutes talking to you. But you made the interview like a conversation, as though we were having lunch or something and just talking. So thank you for that.
next time, let's bring food. I mean, if we're gonna have a conversation like we're having lunch, then we might as well get some food while we're at it. But yeah, Erica,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
my
I'll be
style.
sure to bring some KFC for you.
Yeah, there you go. I heard you got an in. Let's get right into our conversation then, Erica. And I wanted to start with the latest executive order that came out from the governor. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen, nationally, right? There's a big push to get masks off the kids in school. And so, guys, the executive order the governor came out with, it basically says that when we reach a low risk determination, according to the CDC guidelines, then 2 weeks after that, our mask mandate will be lifted. And so I know that
Okay.
over at GDOE, Miss Erica, you guys have already begun kind of like preparing how you're going to deal with this
Yeah,
lifting, right?
we are. And so I have a principals meeting after this meeting just to discuss it. And I think it's important to get input, especially from our administrators, teachers, staff, and most especially our parents and how they feel about the mask mandate. And so this gives us some time. We're in April. We end school in May. So that means that, we can start the mask, whatever the stakeholders feel comfortable in, the majority of our stakeholders feel comfortable in, is something that we can implement for next school year. So at this point, I would recommend that we continue with the use of the face mask, and then for next school year, before parents leave, we want to be able to survey them and let them and ask really how do they feel about their kids not wearing face masks at school. And so another thing also is the physical distancing that I believe they're lifting the physical distancing of 3 feet and 6 feet. And so that's something that we also have to discuss with our stakeholders. So it's important for parent input because they're sending their kids to school for 8 hours, and we want to ensure that they're safe, and we want to ensure that parents are comfortable having their kids in school for that many hours. So definitely stakeholder input is important.
What about the staff, Miss Erica? What has the staff been saying about lifting of mask requirements and social distancing requirements?
Well, the EO just came out, the executive order 22, yeah, uh, I believe '09
Right.
came out just last night. So I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the principals or even survey staff. So I'm not at that point where I'll be able to let you know how they feel because it just came out
Yeah,
last
yeah.
night.
My bad. So, but when we do get to that place, are you able to tell us how mask mandates will be handled, like at the individual school level?
Well, I think it's going to be, it won't be at an individual school level. I think it would be a district-wide decision. We want to remain consistent at all of our schools. So we want to ensure that, whether you're going to CL Titano or Daniel Paris Elementary School or whatever it may be, the requirements are the same. And so we want to keep that consistency, and it would be a district level implementation and not a just a school decision.
Well, so you guys are fortunate in that we might not even see the lifting of the mask mandate until maybe when it's summer. You never know when we're going to reach that low risk determination by the CDC, which would
Yeah,
trigger 2 weeks after the lifting of these mandates. So this could be a conversation that you guys can have over the whole summer, right?
Definitely, but we want to get some stakeholder input prior to students finishing up the school year. And so, it's difficult to get in contact with parents over the summer. So definitely, there will be a survey that will go out prior to the end of the school year to get that input from our parents, which is extremely important.
I wonder how the kids feel about it. Like my two young elementary age children, I mean, it's just become part of their life pretty much.
Part
Is
of the normal, right?
right? Yeah, wearing these masks. Let's move
Yeah.
on. Graduation update, Erica. Latest graduation rates.
So, yeah, you were asking about graduation rates, but we haven't graduated our students yet. So I'm assuming that you're asking for last year's graduation rates. And so we had 1,590 students graduate from school year 2021, and that's about a 90% graduation rate. And then obviously we'll be able to provide information over the summer to you as far as graduation rates for school year 21-22.
So how does that graduation rate of 90% that you reported for 2019, 2020? Is that what you said?
No, 2021.
Okay, 2020,
Last school
2021.
year. Last school year.
Right.
Yeah.
90% graduation rate. How does that compare to rates pre-pandemic?
A little bit, definitely a little higher. We typically average about 85% graduation rate. So, it's not much higher than before, but it is high, 90% of our students graduating. And so obviously last year and the last 2 years, quite frankly, was a very different school year. We had hard copy, we had online, we had face to face, we had cohorts. And so, it was a transition year for many of our teachers as well as our students.
Okay, teachers, listen up. Here we go. Let's get into it. Teacher pay study. The Soup John Fernandez had said in a previous interview that he was hoping this teacher pay study could be completed by the end of the month. And guess what? It is the end of the month.
Well, let's add another month to that.
Okay.
So, this it's a long process. It's not something it's a simple assignment to do. This covers 1,938 active employees. And so we do have a pay study committee, which involves about 48 individuals, which includes teachers, administrators, librarians, counselors, not nurses, but it encompasses a lot of individuals, and they meet on a weekly basis. And so we're currently working with the Department of Administration, and they will recommend their pay adjustment. We work closely with DOE, especially when it comes to pay adjustments. They were the ones that originally did the CWA, which is the Competitive Wage Act, which was implemented quite a few years ago. And so DOA will provide salary data, and then it'll come back to us. We review it. We'll go back to DOA, and then the estimated time of completion of this particular project is in a few weeks.
And then, do you have any idea about the implementation of the pay study? Of the pay raises, if the pay study warrants it?
Well, it's going to take. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of effort. We would have to, if employees are going to get paid more, that would mean that we would have to go to the legislature and request for more money, right?
Yeah.
And so currently we're working with a $40 million deficit at this point. So it's a matter of going to the legislature and requesting for more money. And if that money does come in, then we'll be able to pay our employees based on the study.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because with the law enforcement, pay increases. I know that when they had asked the governor what the funding source was, it kind of was one of those, we're taking from here, we're taking a little bit from there, we're getting some from, there's 50 cents on the couch. I'm kidding. But just for the teachers listening, Miss Erica, what would the funding source be, and do you anticipate it being a steady one? Because I have a lot of teacher friends, and they talk about this famous phrase on their increment statement, quote, subject to availability of funds, right? So how do we kind of ensure that when these teachers get the raises, they're able to keep them?
Well, obviously, if they get the pay raise, then they have to keep. Currently at this time, DOE is living paycheck to paycheck, literally, and so it's going to be based on availability of funds, and those funds would have to be appropriated by the legislature and provided to the Department of Education. And so, obviously, if they did get their pay raise, then they are entitled to that pay raise, and that pay raise cannot be taken back.
Right. But that's if they get it. But if there's no money for it in the first place, then it's just a paper thing. They won't get it, obviously, right?
Well, we hope that the governor and the legislature supports this effort, because we have very hardworking employees for the Department of Education. Even when there was a shutdown, our 12-month employees were passing out food. I mean, 12 million, I believe, food for our our island. And there's no one, I believe, no government agency or no anyone who provided the basic necessities to our community. And so, we hope that the legislature and the governor commits when this study is completed, and we hope that it's not just based on availability of funds, but it is provided to these well-deserved employees.
Right. I mean, we did a whole lot of looking back with Senator Duenas this morning, but there's a positive thing to look back at. I remember because I was there. It was the grab and go GDOE at the time. We were just getting pretty deep into the pandemic, and people were hurting. They were hungry, and they lined up. I mean, hundreds of cars, miles and miles long, waiting for little bags of food to be given out,
Absolutely.
right,
And that
by
was done
GDO.
on a daily basis.
Right, yes, by GDOE employees. And I remember at the time I was there. We gave a lot of praise to the superintendent and the GDOE staff for. And you're right, that was a time before we had this infusion of the federal monies, and it really was well needed. And I remember I'm getting the feels right now, because I remember it was almost like, let's go put a cape on these GDOE employees, because they're out here making a huge difference. Erica, let us not forget.
I will be expecting that, Chris.
There you go.
So you better start ordering the capes, and I'll deliver it to all the schools.
Okay, here, GDOE, are we expecting a decrease or increase in enrollment for next school year?
Oh, we hope we get an increase. That we won't be able to find out until obviously sometime in July what the increase will be. But we hope that we do get an increase in enrollment with our students.
What about the Minefis and the laptops, Eric? I know those were stood up. I mean, primarily, right? Because you
Yeah.
had the online stuff. But what happens to them now?
So the Minefis are still in protest, unfortunately.
Okay.
And so that's all I can say about it, is that it's in protest. However, we do have SIM cards. We have 3,650 users with those SIM cards. As far as the laptops are concerned, we have approximately 5,000 users of those laptops.
Erica, I think before there was always that conversation. Oh, we want to give every kid a tablet or whatever, right? So with these laptops that we got because of the pandemic, are we taking them back, or are we folding them into the instructional plans with GDOE?
Well, these are federally funded equipment, so it's not something that we can just give out. We're in the process of getting these laptops returned because we have to inventory these items, right? Part of our high risk was a concern was our inventory, our federal inventory purchase equipment. So definitely those equipments would have to come back, and it has to be inventoried by the individual schools.
What happens then, though? Do you send it back to Uncle Sam and be like, "Hey, thanks for the laptop,
Oh, no,
slightly
no,
used"?
no. It's going to be utilized.
I
It's going
see.
to be utilized at the school, and so there's uh, teachers are able to use it. We have laptop carts, right,
Yeah.
that they can use in the library, computer lab. So it's not something that we're going to put in a shelf or a storage room, and we're never going to see it again.
Thank you.
These computers are going to be utilized.
But can we go back to the teacher pay study, because I kind of missed it? Did you say the Guam Federation of Teachers was involved in this study?
I don't know who is in the committee. I would say I don't want to say yes and be wrong on that, but we have a good relationship with Tim Fidenko, who's the president, as well as Sanjay Sharma, who's the vice president of the GFT. And so I think they're involved. I mean, obviously, we have Tim Fidenko, who's part of the board. He's a ex officio board member, so he attends board meetings, so he knows what's happening when the superintendent provides his overview of what has happened within the month. So he's well aware of the educator pay study.
Can you do you have any comment or any information on this counselor bill?
The counselor bill. Okay. And so we're currently drafting our position relative to that particular bill. I know the superintendent would personally like to meet with the counselors and just talk to them about, what concerns and issues they want to address. As much as possible, we don't want something to go into law. We want to be able. We have a CBA, which is the collective bargaining agreement between the GFT and management, which stipulates the duties and responsibility of a counselor. And so I know when the superintendent comes back, he is going to set up a meeting with the counselors just to discuss and talk about their concerns and try to address it at the lowest level possible.
So what happens if we have inconsistencies with this bill? Should it become law, and what the collective bargaining agreement says?
Well, obviously, a law would supersede a contract, right? And so, it's kind of difficult because then you may be able to develop a bill to say what school aides can do and what principals are able to do. And so that's kind of a scary thing to deal with when we already have a collective bargaining agreement. And so it's important that the superintendent meets with the counselors to address their issues so that we deal with it at the lowest level possible.
Is there a reason for the delay with this meeting? Because I know a couple counselors, and I think they said that the soup has been saying that he wanted to meet with them since they filed a grievance.
He's been out for about 2 weeks,
Okay.
and so the bill has just been recent. And so, he's a busy guy with a busy schedule. That's the reality. However, it is a priority for him to meet with counselors and talk to them about what their concerns are so that we can address it.
Well, thank you, Miss Erica. Last question: did you guys ever get any of those COVID pins?
COVID what?
The pins, the COVID pins.
No.
Okay, nothing. There's no COVID pins. Just kidding.
What?
Google it. It was a thing. There's a thing. It
I,
was a thing. There's the people got frontliners. Different frontliners got these little
oh,
COVID-19
maybe the
commemorative
nurses
pins.
did?
Maybe,
I think
right?
the nurses did. So
Okay.
number one, you have to get us a cape, and then number two, you got to get us some COVID pins. So you've got two homework assignments for me, Christopher Barnett.
Yes, Miss Erica.
So you wanted to talk about Escuela en Poingy.
Yes,
So for
so
the
yeah, update on Escuela en Puengi.
yeah, so for the fall semester, we had 2,314 students enrolled, and off that 2,314 students enrolled, we had 2,121 passed. And so this spring, we have 1,590 students that are currently enrolled, and that program doesn't end until I believe in May.
Thank you, Miss Erica.
You're welcome.
I'll
So
be sure
don't
to
forget,
do my homework.
I'll be waiting for next week,
Okay.
Wednesday.
What size cape are you?
Extra small.
There you go. Miss Erica, thank you for your time and have a great week.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Take care.
There
Stay
you go.
positive.
You
Test
too.
negative.
You too.
Bye.
Yes. Miss Erica Cruz, the acting GDOE as superintendent. Remember, we always get John Fernandez every Wednesday. It's our standing Wednesday appointment. And so she was filling in for the superintendent, which I really appreciate because that's a whole lot better than going 2 weeks without